Hola, mi gente linda, and welcome to PanaVizion, the Todo SoFlo podcast that brings you all local stories, news, and music with your incredible, amazing, cool, fabulous hosts, Anette y Clari, the co-founders of Pana MIA Club.
Yes, for those of you who do not know, Pana MIA Club is a collective that's making supporting local entrepreneurs and creatives easier than finding a pierogi in sunny Isles. Every single episode, we're going to bring you a new Pana to talk about their work, how they're involved in their community, and then we're also going to bring on a musician to talk about their latest release.
So today we welcome Kat, a.k.a. Earth Pallas, to discuss astrology and activism. And later, we'll hear from the Miami-based band Folktale San Pedro to hear their latest EP, I'm Over It, from their album Romance. But before we get to that, Clari, ¿cómo andas? How you doing, babe?
Doing good. I'm actually struggling to find a Mother's Day gift, so I'm excited to go out to some markets tomorrow.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. What do
any
you got
markets
planned?
in particular?
No. Do you have any suggestions?
I don't know any markets going. You can tag us and
Yeah.
tell us which markets to go to.
Yeah, what's your favorite market?
Yes. Myself, I went to the community ceramics gathering by Wavy Creations this past week. So Mother's Day gift down.
Oh, you already created it.
I created.
Oh, okay.
I molded it
You're
for
like
my hands.
one of one here, Mom.
Literally.
Okay. All right. I am super excited to mention all of the new panas that we've received or we've gotten this past week. So are you ready?
I am so ready.
Yes.
So ready.
All right. So first we have Joan. They are a pop rock artist from Miramar that also has phenomenal locks. So if you're watching this, love your hair.
Yes. And then next we have Malochio Media, a photography and videography company, right? Based out of Boca Raton.
Yes. Super excited to collaborate with them. We also have Fly Finds Miami, which is a secondhand and upcycled thrift store and vintage store here in Miami.
Awesome. And then next we have our guest, Folktale San Pedro. That is, quote, a music project forged by the fires of hell. Super excited to talk to them.
I'm really excited about that one. So sorry if I butcher your name, but we also have Araugia. I like that. They are a DIY bilingual alternative music project, also from Miami, Florida. Represent.
Yes. And next we have the super cool people at Cosmic Gardens Horticultural Supply. They are a horticultural supply store providing all the supplies and information needed to help you grow your garden. And so if you have a green thumb, if you're a gardener, definitely check them out. They are in Sunrise and they are super, super cool.
Or if you
Shout
want
out
to
Alex.
transform into a green thumb, they'll help you out.
Yes.
We also have Orla Ananda, who is, if you don't know her, she is Miss Queen of Murals here in Miami. Actually based out of Fort Lauderdale. Yeah, South Florida's Queen of Murals. So we're really excited to have her join.
Yes. If you need a mural, you know who to hit up. And then lastly, we have, and this is crazy that we have a pana that does this now, but Inside Voice, hypnosis and past life regression practitioner. So welcome, everybody. And that puts us at 162 panas, members of our collective.
Yes, so if you or someone you know wants to join our collective, it's free, it's easy. All you gotta do is fill out a form. So reach out to us, either DM us or any comment on this video on YouTube. We'll link you up with the form. You can sign up, become one of the friends.
Yes, please be our friend.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much to everybody who joined, and it's important to stay educated about what's going on with our panas and, of course, our local community.
Yes.
Luckily, Clari and I are here to catch you up on lo que está pasando in South Florida in our segment, Meanwhile in SoFlo.
Yeah, so first off, Meanwhile in SoFlo, we have the Unseen Festival that's happening tomorrow. At Oasis in Wynwood. They're a local and international, they support local international POC artists, and they have panels by and for musicians about how to grow online and whatnot. They're really cool. You're actually going,
I'm
right?
going.
We will be there.
Yes, thanks to WVUM.
Yes.
I actually won VIP tickets. So me and our event coordinator, Eddie, are going to be going.
Yeah, so if you go, please stop by and say hi.
Yes, say hi to me.
It starts at noon, so get your tickets online. They're $20 online right now, so go grab them.
For sure, for sure. And then we have on May 26th, there's going to be an incredible event hosted by Omega Spit and Casa Crea. It's the 786 Film Festival. It's kind of like a celebration to spotlight local filmmakers of all experience levels, hosted by the local community. So the name is inspired by the area code 786, which was created after all combinations of 305 were occupied. The title of 786 fits perfectly for the festival, representing a new generation of artists. In this came filmmakers of all ages and backgrounds. And then next Wednesday, May 17th, they actually have a filmmaker meet and greet. So you get to meet all of these amazing local filmmakers that are like part of the event, and that is actually going to be in Shotgun headquarters here where we're recording on the Miami Community Radio platform.
Yes, so we're going to talk about this a little bit more later on, but I think some of you might have heard that there is a sacred ground in Biscayne that right now is trying to be developed by developers to turn into yet another condo building.
What a surprise.
So tomorrow there's going to be a prayer walk from 10 to 4. It's a 2-mile walk, but you can walk as much as you want. It starts at 10, and it's actually going to start off with indigenous folks talking about land rights and just like the community emotions that are coming out of what is trying to occur here. So if you'd like to go, it's tomorrow at 10 to 4, and it's located downtown in front of Biscayne Park. So yes.
Awesome.
And then we also have 2 new music releases from our Panas. The first is Serviette Love, just came out with Tonight. And then also Angelica Noor, I love her music so much, I really do, released a song called Feel Right. So if you haven't already, go on and listen to them, add them to your playlists.
Yes, and shout out to Mike of Serviette Love. I love that boy so much.
Yes, he's honestly great.
He is just such a sweetie pie. Okay, so now in Pana MIA Club news, the 26th is going to be our next episode of PanaVizion. So if you want to be featured on our podcast, please reach out to us and we'll consider you. It's the only requirements is really just to be a part of the directory.
Yes.
And we can have a conversation just like we're having right now on here.
Yes. So last week we talked to Sarah, who is the owner of Dear Eleanor, a venue space out in Wynwood that's accessible, featuring creative. It's a really creative space, educational events, whatnot. So we are actually hosting a Club de Pana there, our first Club de Pana. That's going to be happening bi-weekly. It's May 27th. So mark your date. Annette will be there doing cool art. I will be there doing cool yoga. It's going to be a really fun, really chill event. So come hang out.
Yes.
Please.
Yeah. So just to recap on what Club de Pana is, it's kind of like a community event that we're inviting everybody that wants to come to just like come and hang out, meet us, have a good time, hang out, and then that's pretty much it. And then next up in our news, I'm so excited to talk about this. We have Hara Luna in the Gardens. So this is a collab event that we're coming out with Wavy Creations, that is a local ceramicist, at her home studio in Coral Gables. So that is going to be really interesting because it's going to land on the new moon in Taurus. And we've created sort of like a whole lunar concept around this kind of like lunar event. Manifesting that, just decadent Taurus energy, right? So we're going to have Kat, which we're going to talk about, we're going to invite in a second. But Kat is going to be leading an astrology workshop. And like also kind of like a poetry workshop.
There's gonna be tarot too, right?
There might be tarot. Ooh. I think there's going to be tarot.
There will be tarot.
Yes.
We just got the thumbs up.
Yes.
I love tarot.
And then there's going to be Deb of Wavy Creations that is going to be leading a workshop on how to create a moon jar. So the idea is that you receive the astrology workshop, kind of getting all the intentions of the new moon, and then you create poetry based on the new moon, and then you literally inscribe it into your moon jar. That is the That
the
is the
concept.
flow of the event that we're creating. So that's called Hara Luna in the garden. And it is up on Shotgun. The link is in our bio, so you can actually buy tickets for that now.
Yes.
Yes.
So finally,
Next
we
Friday, by the
have-
way. Sorry.
Yes,
Next
next
Friday.
Friday, the 19th. Next, we have an event. This is kind of early, but we're having an event at the end of June, probably June 30th, and that's in collaboration with Backroom Sessions. So we'll have more details coming up. Musicians, if you want to partake, reach out to us. We're still finalizing the lineup and all that good jazz.
And that's it for Meanwhile in SoFlo. If you know of anything, any interesting news you want us to bring up next time, please DM us. Let us know.
Yes. Okay. Now that we're all caught up with our community news, we're plugged into our community. Now we can finally bring in our lovely guest and querida pana Kat from Earth Pallas.
Yay! Welcome, Kat. So
Kat.
excited to have you.
Yes. So let's get this girl a mic. There you go.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you for welcoming me on here.
Yes. Welcome.
Nice.
Oop.
All right.
This is a scooch a little bit.
Get
Make sure
my
you're in the frame.
bearings. Make sure I'm comfortable.
Oh,
Okay.
All right. We're all
We
set
did it.
now.
yes.
All right. Thank you,
Hi.
Kat, so much for coming on this podcast. We're actually really, really thrilled to have you,
Of course.
our resident
I'm really
astrologer.
excited to be here. Thank
Yes.
y'all for welcoming me.
Absolutely. So, for those of you that don't know, Kat is our resident astrologer that I brag about like any chance I can get. And we're super excited to talk to you because you're somebody that we're going to be working with like pretty much on a weekly basis. Like starting next week. So I would love to like get the chance to like get to know you deeper.
Introduce you to our community.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be collaborating with y'all, and I just appreciate so much the work that Pana MIA does. And I'm also psyched for our little like extended intro next week. We have a like special reading that we're gonna release more information about
Yes.
another time. But yeah, I think I'm delighted to be working with y'all and to be using astrology as yet another tool to create community, to weave information and connections. And yeah, really excited to be working with y'all.
Awesome.
Same love, same love.
Yes.
So yeah, like if there's anything that you can tell us about, I guess like who is Kat? How did you get into astrology?
Your
Yeah.
project Earth Pallas.
Yeah. So my name is Kat. I was born and raised in South Florida, so pretty familiar with the terrain. My astrology work, my sort of project, I guess, if you will, is called Earth Pallas. And that's sort of a nod to a signature of my own birth chart. And I sort of use Earth Pallas to connect to community. I am a consulting astrologer, so I will do one-to-one astrology readings. But I also, one of the goals and like purposes I have for Earth Pallas as it develops as a project is to really like allow collaboration to take root in my astrology practice, which is why I'm so excited to be working with y'all. So the nod to a piece of my own personal chart is the asteroid Pallas. So that's what Earth Pallas is named after. And Pallas was an ancient Greek goddess, and there's other names for her. There's other cultural traditions to talk about. Pallas Athena, y'all might know her as Athena. And she was thought of as the city protectress and dealt with all things from like artisan crafts to literally physically protecting the city against like war and troubles, maybe even colonialism, right? So there's a lot that Pallas does, and I think a piece of my work is also tying in relationship to earth, relationship to land, and the community that takes shape on land.
Right.
And so that's sort of what I named my practice after in the hopes of it developing in the direction of community, in the direction of land-based connection.
That's gorgeous.
Yes.
What a beautiful
Yeah.
sentiment.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I guess my next question would be, like, everyone has a why. I know Annette and I have our like individual whys. So I wanted to ask you, like, why this work and why the collaborations that you're doing, or and the meaning and the messaging behind it.
Yeah, so like why astrology, and then yeah, my particular method of astrology.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
because it's very particular. Like,
It is.
the way that we usually perceive astrology, it's like very personal, very like, I guess, you know, like, what are your big three?
Yeah.
How the transits affect you. And
That's true.
Yeah, so I feel like the way that you approach astrology is like, at least from what I perceived so far, is just like very different from what I see from other of course, like, you know, every astrologist has their focus, right?
Yeah.
But just yours in particular is like a very interesting practice.
Yeah,
It
it's a
really
little more
resonates with
collective.
us. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, your work resonates, I think, with mine as well, which is why we're here together.
Yeah.
I think I'm thinking honestly about how I initially got into astrology. Because I sort of like learned about it first when I was in high school, like 10th grade or something. And I was really exposed to what a lot of us are exposed to initially, which is sun sign astrology. And it's kind of like a mainstay of pop astrology. And so I got into it, and I like figured out the sun signs of everyone in my life, all my friends and family. And then I was like, okay, is this it? And I feel like I just sort of like cast it aside as something that just wasn't enough
Right.
for me. And then I think it was like 5 years later that I saw my birth chart for the first time. And you can think of the birth chart as a snapshot of the sky the moment you were born. So
Right.
it's kind of like a blueprint.
Right.
And it was a completely different experience. And I thought, like, this is enough. Like, this is complex and dynamic enough to like represent the human experience, right? Or to
Yeah.
at least talk to it, which
Yeah.
is what astrology does, whether it's personal or collective, right? And so I think my why is like astrology became really meaningful for me after that, in a way to understand different complexes, understand the people around me and myself for sure. I think that astrology has to be embodied to really understand it. But then I think that it has another power to it, which is to also like offer understanding practices, tools, and understanding and relating, which is to sort of observe the collective sphere and the world from a lens of astrology that uses that same language, that uses that sort of affirmative experience, like this is what might be unfolding. It's very energetic. So, I mean, anything can happen at any time, right? But astrology points to these little pockets of potential, which I think, like, that therein lies its power. Like, because we can unlock so much within us and around us at any given time, but will it sustain? Will it form the way we want? Will it be what we want? Or will it kind of just remain chaotic energy? So, and it's not always chaotic, right? But sometimes, you know, that formation, it's sort of a collaboration between you and the universe that be, right? So, so astrology, I like to use it as this sort of bridge between energetic channels that exist sort of with or without our interference in existence, but then our existence becomes really special as a relationship to astrology when we work with these transits or placements in our chart, and we sort of form and they become malleable, and they become something that we can choose, and we become something that we can choose, right? And that's kind of the key to my astrological practice, is that it's activating radical ways of being, which are freeing and affirming and very joyful. So that's my work.
I think in a way, it kind of like goes back to, I guess, like an ancient way of being, right? Because if you think about indigenous farming practices, like all across the Americas, like you hear a lot about how, you know, during a certain moon, they like plant and harvest, and because like that is like supposed to have like some sort of significance in how like the end product stage is going to turn out.
Absolutely.
So
literally the farmer's almanac still publishes the lunar phases for farmers to base their plantings off of. Yeah.
I was so excited when I read your submission, like when you first applied to be part of Pana MIA, specifically because of one line, and that was, you know, astrology and activism. And so like I loved what you said before, but just like to contextualize it, I was really curious to see like what was your first like moment where you were like, okay, because I think astrology like is very personal, right? Like the first thing into is like, what's my sun chart, like you said, and then what's my chart. But what for you was like the first moment that you were like, okay, this is like, I'm seeing this in a larger scheme, or like through movement, or through like something that you see on the news. Like what was that moment like when you thought, oh, this is like much bigger than just what I'm experiencing?
Yeah, that's a really cool question. Yeah, and you mentioned astrology and activism, which is definitely like foundational to my practice. And then I think about the word activism, and the like root of it is like active, like activate. And I think we
taking
can
action.
activate, exactly, taking action. We can take that on a personal level, and then a political level, energetic level. We can activate on so many different spheres. And I think the moment that I realized that astrology was a really powerful tool to guide activations in the more public sphere, I want to say that was around when I started like really leaning into my studies of astrology, and I started learning from astrologers like Alice Sparkly Kat and Diana Rose Harper, and a lot of their work like really focuses on what's called mundane astrology, which is like the unfolding of world events and how it relates to astrological transits. So it's literally astrology on the public sphere. So that's sort of when I started to open that door, right? But honestly, I think that the relationship between personal activation and political activation or activism are inseparable for me. I think especially in the United States, I think that we have a huge relationship to identity. So I think it's important for us to become aware of our identities and become aware of how they play out personally and politically and publicly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, this is so funny that we're just like talking about astrology in like such a higher level, and I'm just kind of like thinking about somebody that, you know, might just like not even know that astrology like does any of this.
That's so real. That's my work. People come at it from so many different places, right? And in a little bit, we're going to get to talk about Taurus season. And I think that that's a little bit more of an access point. There are a million access points to astrology and to most things. But I think that the sun is a completely valid like entryway into astrology, and like recognizing what you identify with. Again, that identity piece. So the sun sort of, it talks to how you express yourself, and to an extent like how you are yourself. And so what we talk about when we're talking about Taurus season, right, or Aries season, the season is literally the sun's transit through a part of the sky that's been designated Taurus territory, Sagittarius territory, Cancer territory, right?
Which is like the actual constellation.
Sometimes it most of the time it overlaps with the constellation, but sometimes it's honestly more of a like relational aspect.
Is it more like an energetic kind of alignment?
I want to say that the zodiac, which is like the collection of all 12 signs, right, is very energetic based, because you have the planets, the sun, Saturn, Mercury, Mars. These are physical planetary beings, like literally out there in the space. That's a little bit more of like, I want to say that just, it's still energetic, but it can manifest more like physically, can manifest more like literally and politically or whatever. But when you're just talking about the sign, it's really more of an energetic take. Like Taurus or Sagittarius, it doesn't do things. It's not the act of astrology. It's not the actor, right? The planets are the actors, and they're the ones kind of really like moving along. But the signs are like energetic territories where you can also think about like different terrain and what that looks like on the earth, right? How different parts of land hold different energy. And different vibes. So that's sort of the sign base. And again, the season is the transit of the sun through this designated sphere in the sky. And it usually lasts about 30 days. And that's a like physical or astronomical phenomenon, right? Like the orbits of the planets in the sky, they have a timing to them, and that is a lot of what builds astrology.
That's so crazy, because people think about the signs, but what you're saying is that like your sign is not so much your relationship with that particular constellation as much as it is your relationship with where that planet is positioned in the sky, like whenever you're born, or like not only when you're born, but when you're born, and also like how that affects and interacts with where you are right now in present day. And like the other, but it's not just that planet, it's like all of the planets and the asteroids.
It gets deep.
All right.
It gets wild.
So let's bring it back to Taurus season. Like ground it within Taurus season. So what can you tell us about Taurus season? This one here.
Yeah.
Represented by the bull.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the bull. We're going to talk about Taurus season. Yeah. So we are well into Taurus season. We're on the latter end of Taurus season. It's going to run up into the 21st, I believe, of May. Okay. So we've got a little bit longer. I want to say we're kind of like on the other side of Taurus season, because what we had last week and leading up to last Friday or Saturday, I believe, was an eclipse in Scorpio. Yes. And so that eclipse marked a moment where the sun in Taurus, right, as it trekked through Taurus, it blocked off the light of the moon shining from Scorpio, which is on the other side of the zodiac from Taurus. Yes. And always eclipses are going to be along those axes, right? So Taurus and Scorpio, Leo and Aquarius. And so eclipses are kind of moments of intensity, especially when you're talking about a eclipse in Scorpio. So I think it really drugged up a lot of deep-seated feelings, and a lot of there was a lot about power, honestly. A lot about power play, power dynamics, the power plays between relationships, but also in the collective sphere, like who wields power and why. Why should they be allowed to wield power? So a lot of this kind of came up, and I think it was a lot of... I also think that it was a moment of potential empowering, like vibes. It was potentially empowering, especially when it comes to like being in your own power and being in your that powerful feeling when you like recognize an emotion and you're like, that's valid. So I think that sort of energy. But anyway, empowering experiences can also be exhausting. So that was kind of the vibe for the first half of Taurus season. We're on the other side of that, and I think that the story really shifted when the sun in Taurus came together with the planet Uranus. That happened on Tuesday, and so it was really like a new chapter to Taurus season. And we're going to be talking about Uranus a little bit more, because it's a planet that really has marked Taurus seasons for about 4 years now, 4 or 5 years, as the planet treks, just like the sun trekked for 30 days in Taurus, as it moves through Taurus for 7 years. So that has been unfolding since 2018. Uranus is an outer planet, so it's further away, and its orbit is therefore longer and wider.
Right.
So it takes 7 years to go through a sign. And so we're going to talk a little bit about Uranus. Its conjunction with the sun sort of released a lot of freedom and innovation and changes in our identities, perhaps, and in the way that we choose to express ourselves, which is super exciting. So that sort of unfolded. And we have some sweet transits happening today as well. I think that the rest of Taurus season, it really comes to a sweeter note, that the eclipse season is over. We're kind of releasing those heavy emotions. And we are also drawing to a close Mercury retrograde. So a lot of folks know about Mercury retrograde. It's kind of a hot topic.
A little bit notorious.
Yeah, it's
in
also
the astrology community.
It's an access point. It's an access point to astrology,
yes,
right?
It has become pop astrology.
Yeah, and it's actually such a wonderful transit because it gets talked about a lot, and it's literally about talking. It's about communication. It's about sharing. It's about what happens when we communicate with each other. But specifically when it's going retrograde, this planet of communication, Mercury, it's really an invitation to reflect, reassess, and remember why you're going to say those things, why you're thinking these things. And it happens 3 or 4 times a year.
Yes.
So it's necessary, right, to reflect always.
Right. I'm going to cut you off just because we're going to run out of time, and I understand that you wanted to talk about an event happening tomorrow.
Yeah. So we actually, you guys mentioned it already, the prayer walk happening from 10 to 4 in downtown Brickell. So there's some more details for that prayer walk happening tomorrow. I want to connect it really quickly to astrology and again, the way that I use astrology to activate and as part of my own activism process, which is to say that Taurus as an energy, it really speaks a lot to land, as it's an earth sign, and it speaks a lot to physical manifestations of land. It also speaks a lot to money and relationship to money, relationship to land. And so these topics are really fully explored in the event tomorrow. And
definitely
in the fight for indigenous land rights, which is essentially what this is boiling down to. So again, the prayer walk tomorrow from 10 to 4 is being activated to support indigenous folks and their place in the community, their contribution to Miami, which is eternal, right? I think that it's an opportunity to support indigenous folks, but it's also an opportunity to explore our own relationship to land. You know, where do we live? What is the land like? What's the terrain? And how can we be in deeper relationship to it? Again, this is a perfect time to explore that relationship because Taurus is an energy ruled by Venus, and Venus is the planet of relationship. So always Taurus and the other Venusian sign Libra are going to be about relationship. So this is a really potent time to explore your relationship to land, explore your relationship to your home, to your physical house, to the park down your street. And again, the event tomorrow, I think really sort of encapsulates that relationship.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful event. I feel like a lot of self-reflection will happen from especially so many people that are interested in this topic and land and being plugged into their community. I think that it's going to elicit a lot of reflection and whatnot. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on this podcast and talking to us. And make sure to check out Kat and Earth Pallas on Instagram or on Pana MIA Club, and don't go too far because you're going to come back for our second segment, our third segment. Okay. But yes, thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much.
Yes.
Looking forward to it.
Now we are really excited to introduce a new addition to the Pana community, Paco of Folktale San Pedro, and we're going to be listening to a clip of their EP, I'm Over It, right? Yes, awesome. Yeah, you're gonna come over here. Welcome. Yes.
Do I have to sit through the torturous sounds of my music?
Yes.
Absolutely, that's what we're here for.
Okay.
Where through the fires.
Forged in the fires of hell. No, it's not metal.
Sorry I got in the way. I've been feeling fine, killing all this time. I've got nothing left to say. Forget feeling right, heart's in overdrive. Find myself entertaining friends. I hope I never change, stay the same till the end. Maybe I can walk away with some peace of mind. Today I'm colorblind. I should have walked away. Get myself away from here. Not so hard to talk, my dear. 'Cause I feel this every day, and I'm over it. I've been waiting for some time to be by your side. I've been counting all the years, and I'm over it. Lay your heartache next to mine, and it's time to decide. Remember I was being used and put you on a throne. And when I turn away from you, you leave me all alone. You tell me off, you tell me off, you tell me off. Now your tears are flooding the place. It's not so bad, it's not so bad, it's not so bad. I'd like one more chance, I got something to say. I should have walked away. Get myself away from here. Not so hard to talk, my dear. 'Cause I feel this every day, and I'm over it. I've been waiting for some time to be by your side.
Awesome. So that was I'm Over It by Folktale San Pedro. Hi, Paco. How you
Hello.
doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on air in this webisode.
Thank you for coming.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming. And we're here actually to talk about your latest album that you came out with, Romance Romance. Can you tell us a little bit about what the album is about, what's happening there?
So they're all love songs. So obviously, Romance Romance is
Yes.
a good name for it. But nothing yet. No, that album, 16 tracks. Well, 15. One of them is kind of like an interlude that I wrote and recorded 3 days before we submitted it to get distributed, just to make the 16 number because I don't like odd numbers. So
Are you superstitious?
No, I'm not. I just don't like odd numbers.
Okay. Interesting.
And nothing. Those songs have been in development since like 2019, 2020. Most of the ideas started with me, but then I presented all to the band, and then like we all like kind of collaborate over it. And then 2 of the songs was actually pretty cool. We're not a band that kind of like meets up and jams too much. I wish other members were here to talk about it more because I don't want to make it seem like it's just me doing everything. But I'll speak for them. But we come up with ideas and then we just present it and then see like, oh, this is chill, this is not chill, this is cool, this is cool. And then it's just been works in progress. Really, the only things that we really kind of like, I guess, change up or like when songs kind of hit a halt on their creation or like their development is like more so really detailed things like guitar solos, and then just we really care about the melodies that go over certain sections, but like I guess the main bulk of it, like the different sections, are kind of just already pre-prepared by one of us. It's mainly the pianist and I, so that really contribute like the songwriting idea, and then everybody kind of just does their own thing a little bit.
Well, who's the pianist?
Nehemiah Soriana.
Oh, yes. Man, I've met Nemo before. He's such a sweetie.
He's the coolest person on earth.
Yes.
But he's actually no longer playing with us live because he wants to focus more on other things too, like not even musically, I guess, just like life-wise. But him and I, we like stay in contact and all that stuff. Like I'll be like, hey, can you send me all these files and like write something to this real quick? And then he'll be like, yeah, sure. So we collaborate mainly file sharing now, yeah, which is cool. What's up, Nemo? Hi,
Something we've learned is there's a million ways to collaborate.
Yeah.
There
Oh,
really
yeah.
is.
Absolutely.
You don't have to be in the same room with somebody anymore nowadays.
No.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Well, yeah, like that's really great to hear. Like I kind of wanted to, because we were talking about it before a little bit, just kind of like how the journey of like Folktale San Pedro has played out.
Okay, so it has been a long and winding road.
Okay.
But definitely the project started in 2016, but it started off as like an avant punk performance art thing where we wore these animal masks, and it was a 3-piece,
Right.
very just loud and kind of noise rock thing.
Right.
But then 2017 came around, realized I needed to start making money. Didn't really know how to record songs, so kind of quit, hiatus for 2 years. Over the time, I realized that I was into recording music, like hardcore, because I was always recording stuff like in high school, but like on GarageBand. But then I got really into it more when I got more gear. And then I was like, screw it, might as well just start actually recording things, because I don't want to just like have them in my pocket
Might as
doing
well.
nothing. Like I'm here writing songs, I might as well record them. And nothing, just 2018 picked up again. Then again 2019 stopped because of work. And then early 2020, that's I guess when I like to say, and the band like realizes that it kind of started, because that's the first time we put out music on Spotify.
Right.
And yeah, and then since then we've been releasing EPs, singles, all that stuff, and then now released this album, which is basically some of the material, all the material that we've already released, just remixed and mastered, and then with 3 new songs. And then we're 70% of the way through another album, but that's going to be 14 songs. No, yeah, 14 songs.
Oh, do you have a name for it?
Not yet.
Not
yet.
What's the vibe?
The vibe is very different.
Really?
Very different. Imagine like alternative rock just walked into like a 90s dance hall and then just like came out trying to do something.
I
I
feel
like what
like
that
your
sounds
sound
like.
in general like tends to be very retro.
You know, I will never understand what that means, but I'll take it.
I have a very cause like I mean, full disclosure, you guys are kind of like my favorite local band.
Thank you.
And it's because like in my head, like the genre is sappy spanglish love ballads. Yes. And
100%.
I love it so much. Like right now, Love and Honesty in particular has me on a chokehold.
Yeah, that's cool. That's actually the one that I listen to whenever it is that I want to listen back to something from that album or from the songs.
It's so beautiful.
I love the chord progression. It's fun. It's a cool one. That's actually one that Nemo came up with. He actually wrote the whole song. He wrote the whole song. He's like, just put words over it. And at the time I was going through a breakup. So I made it a love song. Another one.
As one does.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, something that's really cool about you guys is your marketing. It's very unique, and I think
super cool.
It's very cool, and I'm wondering.
I sometimes look at you guys for inspiration. I'm not gonna lie.
Really?
Yes.
Look away, man.
So I just wanted to know, like, is there any like rhyme or reason? Like, how does that come out? Like, how do you collaborate on your marketing? Because if you guys have seen their Instagram, you'll know. If you don't know, then go on their Instagram.
Yes.
No.
So it's kind of hard for a lot of us to get together. So you'll notice that a lot of the stuff doesn't really, well, when it comes to certain things, a lot of stuff, like, we don't, like, come together, so you won't, like, see our faces. Like, recently, actually, where is it?
How many members are you?
We're a 5-piece.
You're 5, yeah.
Like, we just printed these condoms, right? And we could give them at shows, and they have the QR code to our Spotify. Here, you should buy one. It's on our website, folktalesanpedro.org. $169 if you buy it online. It's free if you go to the shows. And so, you know, something like that, like, we didn't need to come together and, like, make the recent commercial that we made, but I come from Liquid Death died. I come from the marketing realm aside from real estate stuff.
Right.
And I've always worked, like, on commercials and stuff, so I just treat everything as a commercial. You know, like a silly one, not like anything like hardcore.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to edit for like 5 hours a folktale video, unless it's a music video. But yeah, just it's always this like tongue-in-cheek humor, you know, just trying to always have like some sort of you know, humorous aspect. I don't really. Yeah, we take ourselves seriously as a band, but like we don't really like take too much seriously, you know.
I love how you bring humor into your music, and honestly, I could sit here talking to you like about your music for a while, but we got to move on to the next segment. So thank you so much for talking with us.
Of course.
Don't go anywhere. We are going to invite Kat back to the stage for our segment QueQue with me, Clari, Paco, and Kat all together.
So where do I sit? Still here?
You're just gonna scooch over this way, love.
Okay.
Yes. We're all gonna fit here. Sandwich together.
Cables. I feel like there's a little bit of Walter Mercado channeling through you. Yeah. Does she know who that is? You know Walter Mercado? I don't think so. The famous Latin astrologer that had like the TV show in the 90s?
Oh wait, that does sound familiar.
Yeah, you gotta get into him.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Oh,
Yes.
I wouldn't know half anything about astrology. It just reminded me of Walter Mercado. My grandma would watch that shit. And she's super Catholic.
No, Catholics like astrology. Yeah. They do.
Cool.
Okay,
Absolutely.
Awesome. So this part is called QueQue. Every single week, we ask our audience, you guys, to submit questions for us, and then we ask them live here on our podcast. So
Nervous.
cool. The first one's for you, Kat, and this is from B. It is, in another life, who do you think you were? And how do you feel it ties back to who you are in this life?
Ooh, who was I in another life? That's a great question. What's coming to mind is actually an activist. Her name was Emma Goldman. She was a Russian activist and writer, and considered herself an anarchist, which can mean many different things, I think. But she was spunky. I like to think that I could have embodied some of her fire. She fought a lot for women's rights and for political freedom. She was arrested a lot of times for encouraging people to resist the draft to go into war and also to take birth control. So really relate to that.
Cool.
So yeah, and I think that that ties into some of the work I do today. I mean, I think I know about her because I am also an activist. I identify as an activist, and I sort of study that work, and so I was exposed to her work. So I think that that definitely ties in. Yeah, maybe her, or maybe a capybara or a deer.
Lovely.
I could embody that too.
All right. Okay, so next question is for Paco, and it's actually from James, our teleprompter. Shout out to James. James asks, if you could create a soundtrack for a film, what genre would it be, and what would the plot be like?
Are you serious? That's like, okay.
You have 30 seconds.
It would definitely be, okay, it would be a horror movie, and it would be probably about some guy that he has to give away a third of everything that he loves and owns to some aliens, and then when he has his third son, that's when the aliens probably just going to be like, hey, I want that because that's 1/3 of all your belongings, and then he has to go through a whole like gory, catastrophic plot to go get his son back, and then all the songs and the sounds would be just really heavy saw synths, no drums, so it's more ominous, and there's not much of like a focus on like the music, but like still very ominous shit, and a lot of screaming, reverbed out, but still adding to the music of that. That's my 30-second plot and song and movie.
Wow, can't wait to listen to your music.
I'm gonna call that movie 1/3.
Crazy. You were prepared for that question somehow.
You built
Like,
a
you
plot.
definitely thought about it.
It was kind of quick.
I would watch that. I don't even really particularly like horror films, but I would totally
I would
watch
watch
that.
that.
It's
Yeah.
not so much a horror. It's more of like a thriller sci-fi thing. I don't even like sci-fi, so I don't even know why I got into space, but that would be the answer to that one.
Wow.
Incredible answer. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'll ask you this one.
Okay.
All right, so this is a question also from B. Shout out to B from Chill Otter.
Yes.
Clari, what is your hidden talent?
My hidden talent.
Your hidden talent.
This is a cheat, I guess, because you know this talent, but I can fall asleep anywhere.
Same.
Anywhere
Skills.
on command.
I've seen it.
I
I've
cannot.
seen it in action.
Even if I'm at a restaurant and I'm tired, I'll just be like this.
No.
I don't care.
And that 3-minute nap is all you need.
Yep.
Sometimes.
Everything.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that is my
I
hidden
have like the
talent.
opposite thing. Like, I can't take naps.
Oof.
Yeah, I can't. It doesn't work for me.
I'm sorry.
A siesta.
A siesta. You gotta practice on your siesta skills.
It's like a muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a muscle.
All right. So the next one is for you. This one also comes from B, and it is, who do you trust the most, and how did you build that trust?
That's very obviously a question from B.
Shout out to B.
Okay, who do I
Hard one.
trust the most? I think that in kind of this entrepreneurial journey that I've been on, like for I think over 3 years now, starting from like before I graduated college, I have been learning more and more to trust myself. Because when I first started my artwear brand, like I didn't start it until like I had a friend that like outside was kind of affirming me that I was like able to do this. And then when I started kind of like taking ownership of that business, and then it became fully mine, and then I was able to see like, hey, I can be a designer, I can produce, I can, you know, market and social media and do wear all of these hats. And now I guess like more and more I'm like now branching out to like other people, working in this like, you know, radically communal sort of project that we've like started. So I don't know, it's been kind of like this journey of like, you know, creating trust, and then I guess like, for lack of a better way to put it, like radiating outward, like putting out that energy of trust, and then like hoping that it falls into the right people and having it reciprocated. So I mean, it started with you, and now it's like we're starting to grow our team. We have like Eddie that is helping us with event coordination.
Shout out Eddie.
Shout out
Thank
to
you.
Eddie. And yeah, it's just been incredible. So
I love that.
That's my answer.
I love that answer.
So it sounds like you're developing self-confidence.
yes.
Good.
Trust in self.
Trusting the self. All right. Thank you guys so much.
Thank
This
you.
has been our segment, QueQue. If you want to have us submit questions, you can always do that on Instagram. We will post about our upcoming guests, and you can go ahead and ask them whatever your heart desires, and then they're on the spot answering these questions.
Can I say one last thing?
Yes.
Go for it, love.
If you're watching before Saturday the 13th, we play at Gramps at 9. Have a good one on that.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. Bueno, dale mi gente, y con eso we conclude the second live episode of PanaVizion. Join us not next week, but the week after, to learn about more creatives and entrepreneurs working to change our communities.
Yes.
Ooh.
Thank you. See
Thank
you all
you.
then.
Bye.
Bye.
That was fun.